If you're already making great money, but you're still not financially free, this episode will show you exactly how to change that and fast. My guest, Jane Mukami, is a total force of nature. Born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya, she built a 7-figure business in fitness and nutrition, helping women transform their bodies and their confidence. But like so many high-achieving women, she hit a wall. Money was coming in, but freedom wasn't. Taxes were eating her alive, her cash was sitting idle, and she didn't know how to make her money start working for her. Then she found Women Growing Wealth, and everything shifted. Together, we constructed her finances, mapped out her enough number, and created a plan so her profits could buy her time, not more stress. In this conversation, you'll learn the exact moves that collapse the timeline from income to independence, how mentorship multiplies your money faster than doing it yourself ever will, and how to use your enough number to decide exactly when you can stop working if you choose to. This isn't about another strategy you'll forget tomorrow. It's about learning how to buy your life back. Let's get you on the fast track to financial freedom, the women's way. I'm Tamar Hermes, and this is the Women Growing Wealth podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women Growing Wealth podcast. We are here today with Jane Mukami. Jane, how did you get here on this podcast?
Well, because you invited me. But I got here really, Tamar, because it's been a life-changing year working with you. And I guess everyone has to stay tuned to learn more. But Women Growing Wealth is so needed and so absolutely life-altering for us women being able to get a hold and control of our finances so we can live blissfully and peacefully and make all our dreams come true.
Okay. Are you ready for more? Are you ready to hear about what happens with women growing wealth? How do we step into that power of feeling like we can have $1 million company and have money working for us and save money on taxes and get access to all those things? And you didn't start here, Jane.
No.
Tell us about your story so that all the listeners know that we all start in various parts.
Absolutely. Well, my story goes way back. I was born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya. I came to Atlanta, moved to the US when I was 20, and this is going to be 26 years ago next month. And you know, one of the things that I remember thinking as a maybe 25-year-old is, why was I not born in the US? I would be so much ahead had I been born in this country, you know? And it might have been a mental belief that everything in the US is easy. There's money everywhere. It's just what happens when you don't live here. And it was a struggle. I came to the US to go to college, graduated with my computer information systems degree, worked in corporate America for 18 years, got divorced, got married, of course, first, then got divorced. And after getting divorced, I wanted to reclaim my confidence, and I did that through weight loss. As a result, I started becoming this new person, and people around me would notice and ask me for help with their own personal weight loss journey. And that's when I decided maybe I could do this weight loss thing and quit my 9-to-5. I worked as a project manager for software development. I was making 6 figures by the age of 28. So I was doing well financially, but I wasn't fulfilled. And 10 to 12 years ago, I started getting the itch. I want to make money and I want to be fulfilled, but I did not want to do it the corporate route. So that led me to starting to pursue my passion, even though a part of me thought that I'd never make enough money in corporate as I would being a coach. But I was shocked. That's why I'm here now as an entrepreneur. So To cut the long story short, I quit my job, doubled down on myself, and I built a wildly successful business that I love that's generated 7 figures a year a couple of times. And when I first met you, I knew you would be the woman who would help me learn how to make my money, make me money, and taxes and all those good things that we're going to talk about.
It's crazy to hear that when you first met me on Instagram. So you see me on Instagram and something inside you is saying, okay, I built this company and there's layers to freedom. There's layers for us and there's layers to life. And what I find is that a lot of women start in corporate and then they find, you know what, I have this position, I'm making the money, but I still feel like a cog in the wheel. I'm still not having the amount of freedom that I want. If I want to go to my kid's soccer game, I may not be able to go because I have to report for duty.
Absolutely.
And so we reach a point where we're starting to think, okay, what else? And then we start to realize, wow, what if I could create something? What if I could take this weight loss, become a nutritionist, become a fitness expert, teach other women how to create a healthier version of themselves? And that's amazing. And then we realize, okay, we're making this money. And then what do we do with the money? How do why is half the money for Uncle Sam?
Actually, first it's Uncle Sam. I remember it was 2021. I called my accountant and I said, hey, I've made a lot of money this year. What do I need? It was November. I remember because it was 2 months before the year ended. I said, what do we need to do so that I'm not paying so much tax? And he told me to buy a car. He told me,
6,000-pound car.
You need to buy. And I'm like, I don't want another car. He said, well, you have the money. That's one way to offset your taxes. Go on and buy a brand new car. And I remember hanging up the phone and feeling so disillusioned and thinking, just because I have it doesn't mean I have to spend it. Why can I not put this money somewhere where in a few years, if my business is not doing what it's doing now, I can say, I don't want to work. And I remember that was the same year I ended up finding out about somebody called a tax planner. But that just goes to show how first you can make money without freedom. You're tied to your job, can go to your kids' games, can take a vacation. For me, it was location and geographic freedom. I wanted to work as I travel because I love to travel. Second is now you've made the money and now you have this, you're a slave to Uncle Sam. And not that we don't want to pay taxes, we're trying to get smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found you on social media. And I remember thinking, oh my God, everything you're talking about, my hand is up. I want to learn. And I had my first call with you and I remember thinking, I have to work with you, but I wasn't ready at that time. So I came back to you last year and I came back to you, Tamar, because I had watched you and followed you and I'd attended your master classes and I knew you knew your stuff. Now, the thing about Instagram and social media is if somebody finds you today, they might think that you don't know much because you don't have 500,000 followers. And what I've learned about the social media space is it's not about the people with the million likes and followers. It's the people whose community is so engaged and loves the content and they show up and engage with you. That's what drew me to you. And I was consuming everything you put out there because I knew one day I'm going to knock on her door and I'll pay her whatever. And I did that. And like I said, my life's changed.
I love that. I love that. And I also love that you were resonating with the message because for me, it's been a long journey for me as well in terms of stepping out and saying, hey, I think women can do better. I want to do better. I experienced the same struggles you did. I had the high paying corporate entertainment job. I felt like I didn't have enough freedom. I started making money, going from one expert to the next and feeling like people were telling me to buy a car or to do this or that and the other. Some of it was good advice. Some of it was advice that maybe wasn't so great, but I didn't know the difference. And that's the whole point of, what if there was a community where smart women came together that were financially successful, working toward financial freedom, and they could have a forum where they could ask the questions, where there was a mentor that had been through all it before,
Right.
where we could say, hey, you know what? This deal that you're looking at, I question it because of this. And it's a game changer. It's empowering for
Absolutely.
us to believe that we have that much control.
So I'll tell you from my personal experience, it's that we are so indoctrinated by the work culture that all you have to do is keep working, 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 working. You never take a moment to look at how much am I spending, how much is coming in. It's almost this, I don't need to know. All I know is as long as I do my 40 hours or keep grinding in the business and money's coming in, I don't need to look under the rug. It's a bit of ignorance. And I can say that I was that for maybe a year or two into my business. But when COVID happened, I remember watching on CNN when this reporter said that about 85 or 80% of Americans do not have $1,000 in their bank account. This was during COVID. This was April. And I remember getting chills because I had just quit my job in 2018. My business was only a year and a half old. And I'm like, what do you mean they are living paycheck to paycheck? I remember questioning myself and saying, okay, I do not have retirement. Because of that, I opened up my solo 401k, the Roth IRA. I opened up the HSA. That particular message got my wheels turning. And I took what I thought were the first steps. But a year later, when my business was still doing well, a part of me kept future pacing. What's going to happen 20 years from now when maybe my business doesn't excite me? What do I do with all the money I'm making? And most people are so busy working, they don't want to look at the numbers. And one thing you've done for me is you forced me to pull out everything and go through it with the fine-tooth comb to really understand my reality, especially if I was saying last year that I would like to retire by 50. And like you told me, was part of that, we have to start by seeing where you are, what your budget is. Look, you looked at my portfolio and all that. So I think women growing wealth has to start with the big dream. What do you want to accomplish in 10, 15 years? And I'm really good at seeking out coaches or getting help. And that's how you and I met. So I think women have to understand that it's okay to not know, but find someone who can help you.
100%.
Yeah.
And I also love what you're talking about in terms of actually looking at the numbers. It reminds me of when we have a certain project that we need to do, or where we're studying for a test and we think, oh, this is going to be so hard.
Yeah.
But then once you actually take everything out and you're like, oh, that wasn't so hard. Like getting my real estate license, I was like, okay, we can do this. Like once we sit down, it's the same thing with the finances, that we just have a stigma around it.
Right.
And then once we look at it, I use the word control. And granted, we live in a world where we don't have a lot of control over a lot of things. But one of the things that we can have more of a sense of control over is looking at our reality and saying, okay, this is what is, and what are the opportunities there? And one of the ways that we break that down inside of Women Growing Wealth is with that enough number.
Yep.
Because even famously, Tony Robbins at events, if anyone has been to a Tony Robbins event, and some of my listeners, actually a lot of them, have been to Tony Robbins events because we're all into self-development and bettering ourselves, he will inevitably call on someone to say, how much money do you feel like you need in order to be financially free? And people raise their hands and they just throw out a number, $20 million.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary,
Right.
based on like what sounds good. And so what happens is that then Tony will proceed to say, okay, well, what are you going to spend that $20 million on? And they say, well, I want a private chef. I want to be able to send my kids to private school. I want to be able to take vacations. Well, you add that up and it's not
20 million.
Yeah. It's not 20 million.
Yeah.
It's substantially less. Now, granted, maybe you do want certain things where you might need more money, but even owning a plane, which I have friends who do, those are huge tax deductions. Now,
Right.
that might be, maybe Janie should save up for a plane.
I mean, I got you on my side, Tamar. Anything is possible right now, okay?
Instead of a 60-pound car, because a plane you
Right.
can actually take a huge tax,
It's a
really huge tax
tax
deduction,
write-off,
and
yeah.
and you can cash flow it like a building or real estate.
Right.
So, but that's an episode for another time.
Right.
But the point is that we're chasing a number. We're chasing this feeling of being able to do the things we want to do. We don't take any chances sometimes, like leaving that corporate job, because we feel like, well, I need this money. We hang on so tightly. And so part of what we also look at in Women Growing Wealth is, how do we expand our expression of what it means to be a wealthy woman, of what it means to move money around, of what it means to not hold on so tightly and not believe we can't make more of it, but to also see that we don't need necessarily $20 million. We may want it,
But do we need it?
but do we need it? And that's a huge difference, because there's many people that keep working in a job because they just feel like, I need it. And a lot of times, even with married couples, we see that they're both doctors, say, and one of them can actually leave and they can invest in real estate, and one of the partners can become a real estate professional, and they actually end up making more money by the time the taxes flush down and
Right.
everything goes. I mean, it's uncanny.
Yeah.
And so there's all kinds of solutions once we get into a state of possibility with wealth.
Absolutely.
And when we realize, this is a conversation that comes up a lot, we weren't able to vote. We weren't able to buy property not that long ago.
Yeah.
You have the experience of coming from Kenya, from another country.
Right.
And even us as Americans were really in a state of depression for women, and keeping us back from things that we were completely capable of and entitled to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing to know is, even though you've made the money, or there are women out there who have the money, it's being able to find the right information. Because again, other than, okay, do the retirement savings, the only other thing I knew was, okay, I guess I could get into real estate. But real estate, as I've learned from you, has so many different sections or ways to invest, not just my traditional, oh, I just need to buy a house and find someone to rent it. You know, you've taught me so much more. Or understanding, thanks to you, that there are opportunities for investing out there that someone has to walk you into. They're not out there for the public. And you've been by my side in bringing me or introducing me to opportunities for investing that I would have never come across. But because you've been in the industry so long, you're able to educate me, help me understand, here are 4 deals. Here's why this one might be the best one for you, or the second, and you help me understand why, and us working together. That information or information asymmetry is real. We don't know what we don't know
100%.
until I meet someone like you who totally, it's like my brain went from this to this. I'm like, I only knew stock market, real estate, and I'd heard of this thing called crypto. Right? So being able to take the risk and say, I don't know this lady, I just know her on Instagram, but I'm willing to take the risk and invest and work with you, and believe and trust that you are going to show me what I need. I think that's a big part of it. A lot of people have money, but they're either not trusting or they don't know where to go. And when you don't know where to go, you have to research and find where you need to be. And you are one of the people that I've referred friends to, because I believe in everything you do, because you've done a lot for me. And that enough number was everything. Not knowing what the amount of money I need to retire had me thinking I needed the 20 million. Oh, I need 50 million to retire. But when we did the work, it's understanding, I'm closer than I think. And here are the reasons. And you've been able to help me work through that. That I think is the core of everything.
I love that. And I'd also love for you to share what that shift was for you, because it's different for everyone. And that really crafted a lot of the moves that you've made moving
Yes.
forward, and I think the level of enjoyment and a sense of security.
Absolutely. So first is shifting from this mindset where I don't know if it's an African mindset thing, but we're taught to save money, like make money and put it in the bank and log in and look at it. And it's there. Yes. And it's growing. That's it. So coming to you was first shifting. I remember the first time we ever started looking at my numbers and you're like, oh my God, this money is just sitting here doing nothing. And I'm like, yeah, it's been there for a few years. And like, okay, we need to put this money to work. And I remember thinking, what is she saying? I mean, CDs don't really do much. And I didn't realize like you were talking levels above CDs and that kind of thing. So my mindset first shift was understanding money is not supposed to sit and just accumulate. Then the second was working through the enough number impacted my lifestyle. Like, I just came from a 3-month travel all summer. I've been to Spain. I spent 2 months in Africa. I just came through Spain again. I'm in Atlanta now. I moved to Mexico a year ago. It was like the winter getaway that ended up being 6, 8 months. And I'm making all this, or I'm doing all these things with the security and joy of, oh, I know that every month, whatever it is that I need to spend, it's coming whether I'm working or not working. And that level of freedom and comfort is priceless. Like nobody can take that away from me. And it's everything.
I love that. And the other thing that I love so much is that you did this on your own. And even for someone like me who's been married for many years and has a life partner that's very committed and that does well in the world, this is something that you and I have talked about is you asking me, Tamar, why do you do this? Why are you still doing this? You don't have to work. You can go to Lululemon and go to yoga every day and do your, and travel.
Yeah.
And I look younger than I am too.
Yep.
The point is that I was saying that it's important for me that I put value into the world. And and what that means for me is being of contribution with skills that I have, with things that I can share. And with Women Growing Wealth, that is a journey that I've been on to say, how I'm raising my hand. Who will listen to me? Because a lot of people, like even myself, has been a victim of listening to the bros. The bros know better. And,
Getting
they're,
burned.
and I've gotten burned.
Right.
And I've just decided, look, if I'm going to get burned, I'd rather burn myself.
Right.
Because at
With
least
your own
I
home.
burned myself.
Right.
At least I burned myself. But if I'm listening to other people and feeling like I trusted people that I thought automatically knew more than me just because maybe they had certain credentials behind their name, or maybe they were making a certain amount of money, or maybe because they had other people following them and saying that they were the right person.
All the hype.
All the hype.
Yeah.
It's how do you listen to yourself as a woman? And that's another reason why I talk about the woman's way. I talk about the woman's wealth code, because we need to have some breath to allow us to share from the way that we are, from what is important to us, and from a place of empowerment and a place of pride and dignity with our femininity and with who we are and with how we invest and how we think. And I know I was doing investments. I was swinging for the fences because I thought, wow, I'm going to double my portfolio. This is so sexy. I can't wait. Only to find that those deals went to zero. But when I started looking at my investment profile and what I was interested in, I'm still making great returns, but I didn't need to try and swing for the fences. I could do other things and sleep at night.
Yep. less risk. And that's one of the things that I think I loved about you. I even forgot to mention before you and I ever had our first call, I bought your book. What's the name of that book?
The Millionaire's Mentality, a
Yes.
professional women's guide to building
I
wealth.
remember
real
reading
estate.
your book. And one of the things that I loved is if you've already built wealth, you've already built your wealth, you don't have to work. Like you could retire if you wanted to. But the reason you've built Women Growing Wealth is because you're trying to pour back from your lessons. In other words, you don't need my money. Like if I don't, whether I work with you or not, your lights are still on. Your amazing real estate and investment portfolio is still doing its thing. You're not trying to make your livelihood off of me. You're doing this because your zone of genius is obvious. You know way more than most people and you get good results. I was like, I'm in. There was no like slimy salesman-y, I want your money. It's, hey, this is what I've done for myself. This is what I do for my clients. Are you ready? Yes or no? Okay, cool. And that attitude to me, other than me being able to read your book and get to know a lot, people don't understand the power of social media, that people can get to know you and get a feel of your true essence. You and I first met for the first time last year in December in Florida, face to face, remember? But I'd already invested in you before I ever met you. I'd already started working with you from social media. So this is to say that knowing that you're financially secure, you've done amazingly well, and you're doing this as almost your purpose and passion to help women who were where you were when you still worked a job, that is everything. And that's what is felt. And the women that you brought together in our community, we're all high quality women that you've attracted because you're doing this from a soul thing, not I need to make money now. And that's a big part of also why I'm here with you.
I love that. I love that. And that being said is that when you are putting value in the world and you're earning money, it does a couple things, which is important to know, which is that one is that when we pay somebody for the value that they give, we pay attention to it.
Yes.
And we also want that reciprocal relationship because that's what makes it fruitful. Money needs to move.
Absolutely.
Money needs to move. And when we are stuck inside of not moving money and we're hoarding it or we're
holding it tightly
because
like
we're afraid.
we're scared that we might never see it. And I think this is all programming from how we grew up, which you also talk a lot about. But when you're holding tightly, you don't make room for more,
Exactly.
So, but it is so mental. Like there are times you and I will have conversations about a deal and I'll be like, yikes, I'm about to invest how much where? And my brain is screaming and yelling. And the only reassurance I have is, but Tamar is here with me and she knows what she's doing. I'm at peace because of that. But if I'd been left to my own mind, I would pull out, So that fear is so real. But again, this is why it's important to be able to have somebody who can help calm the noise, because you just don't wake up one day and all your beliefs have disappeared. And I think now I'm so much better when opportunities come up and we're investing in something for me. I'm very, oh, that's cool. Much easier now than a year ago.
100%. It's a muscle. And that's another reason why I love Women Growing Wealth, because we have to learn, how do things actually work? How is the government incentivizing tax strategy? And what feels comfortable for us and what doesn't? And why would we invest in this? And why wouldn't we? And what are the benefits? And there are so many examples of that. But when we have that relationship with money and we understand money moves and we understand that we need to trust our investments and the way that we're moving with them, and that we sometimes might come a little short, but oftentimes we will win bigger. That is really a skill that I want all women to have, because what really hurts my heart, and it really comes from myself, comes from growing up poor and not having money and being so afraid that money was ruling my life. Money was controlling me. And a lot of us are still controlled by money. And I can even get triggered and walk into that space where I feel like, oh, money, like if I lose money on a deal or something happens. And the truth is that when we're letting money control our life, it's just like letting a person control our life. It's the same thing as not stepping into who we want to be and what we're capable of. To feel like, oh, you can't find a job, or you can't make your business work. All of that, people will say that's mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's good you brought that up, because we did agree to do double sharing here. So what was you grew up poor. What can you say was your turning point for you to jump into investing? What was that moment or moments that turned and shifted for you to start succeeding?
Yeah. There were a lot of years of frustration. I, like you, followed the path. Now, because I am a little bit of a rebel, when I followed the path, I got a job in entertainment. So I was following the path and making well over 6 figures, but I was able to do it in an entertainment job, which made it a little more fun because I was doing entertainment work. And I couldn't get past the fact that I was still trapped. It didn't give me the freedom that I wanted. I just felt like, 25 years from now, how am I going to feel walking into this edit bay or working in this position? Is this my life's work? And the answer was no. Now, I didn't know at the time what it was, which is scary because we're not taught to trust ourselves. We're not taught to like, hey, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
We're taught like, shoot, if I don't know what I want to do, then the world's going to come to an end.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to have a place to live. I'm not going to be, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to replace that income if I leave? And then therein lies the trap. And one of the solutions that I found was to buy real estate. And I had actually at the time, I still shake thinking about the fact that I owned a bunch of Apple stock 30 years ago, and I should have kept all of that. But I got so nervous when it crashed. I just sold everything, and then I bought real estate. So, we're all on learning curves. But the thing is that what I always like about real estate is that it's illiquid. And a lot of people say, but you can't sell it right away necessarily. And I'm like, yes, that's the point. Because with the stocks, all you have to do is hit a button and then it's gone.
Right.
When it goes down, because you panic and you feel like you made a mistake and you feel like it's never going to go up again and you don't understand the scope of things. Now, of course, these days, I'm much more learned, so I do understand it, and I wouldn't sell. But
So you sold Apple stock, took that money and bought real estate.
no,
Okay.
I sold the Apple stock and I lost money.
Okay.
But then I was such a good saver too, because Jewish people, we like to save too.
Good to know.
And so I had saved $40,000. And what I did was I took that $40,000 and I put a down payment on a house that was $400,000, which
Okay.
at the time seemed
Wow.
insane. But the way I justified it was, okay, one was that I was going to have a renter. So it was a duplex. So I got part of the mortgage covered there. And then the second piece was that I realized I need a place to live anyway. So I'm going to be spending money on rent and just handing it to somebody, or I can put it into an asset that I own, which seemed like a better idea.
You were smarter than most. And how old were you?
I was under 30.
See? Yeah, I don't think under 30, 25 to 30, 20, most of my 20s I partied. I was just trying to have a good time and build my career. By 26 is when I got married, but I was still partying. I was not, most 20-year-olds are not thinking about, what am I going to do this for another 25 years? What's going to happen? So you were already thinking about the future, which triggered your first real estate purchase.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I was always desperate for freedom. That was what I wanted more than anything.
What was freedom like for you? You already worked in entertainment. That was fun. Was it financial freedom mostly?
I had a lot of financial freedom at that point. I wasn't financially free because I needed the job, but as long as the job was paying me, I was making
good.
enough money to travel and do all the things I wanted to do. But for me, freedom meant I can wake up in the morning when I want to wake up. I can do the things I want to do. I can
Live on
spend
your
time
terms.
raising live
Live
on my
on my
terms. I can
terms.
raise
Yeah.
my kids the way I want.
Yeah.
I can go on holiday if I want. I can buy things if I want. And granted, I'm with you. Like, I have never bought a 6,000 pound car because I don't, I mean, I did, like, when I bought my Tesla, I think it might have been like 70,000, but still, that car's from 2018 and I don't drive that much, and I don't ever think of buying it. I'm not the kind of person that thinks,
Updates a car every year.
yeah, like, I don't need to upgrade the car every year. But for some people, if that's
That's their
important to
thing.
you, it's great, as long as what's important to you isn't, buying a lot of different things like that, because it's not a great asset to
Sustainable,
kind of, it's not a great way to utilize money, but it's just not that important to me. I just want to be able to have a comfortable car to get me where I want to go.
Yeah. So you started from one real estate property that showed you the possibility of, oh, I can just cash flow, make money without having been stuck at a job. And that became your focus of growing wealth, real estate, for many years.
It did, but the other thing is that what I realized, and this is something, Jane, that you talked about too, was tapping into already that enough number and that feeling of, again, I don't need the 6,000 pound car. I want to raise my kids. I want to do these things. I want to have time to explore what I want to do with my life, to create my expression. So all those things were important to me, more important to me than buying a new bag.
Yeah.
So I was always good. I always had money. And when we make choices like that, depending, like these days, I can buy more things if I want.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily feel like I need more. In fact, as I get older, I'm kind of looking around thinking, gosh, we have a lot of stuff. And it just, it accumulates, even though you don't think that you're that materialistic. I feel like, my closet is bursting. And I always tell my husband, gosh, I bought a lot of stuff. And he says, no, you don't. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like I have no room.
Yeah, it's habit. And that's one of the things, and I don't know if it's the same for you, Tamar. When you get to a point where you're financially free, all of a sudden you don't want anything.
God. Snap, 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 people.
Right?
Ladies, hear
'Cause
that.
Sometimes
Hear that.
people think that, oh, the more you make, the moment you don't have to work for it, you can have anything. And you look around, you're like, no, like I just sold my 18-year-old car. 18-year-old. And somebody close to me might look at me and think, wow, your business makes $1 million a year. Why are you driving a car from 2008? But I don't want more things. I want more. I want to go to Burning Man.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
I want memories. I want time and doing things that make my heart smile, right? It becomes those things and not, I need the latest phone.
Right.
I gotta have the latest Gucci
Right.
bag. Like those things all of a sudden are not even anywhere close to what we want. Isn't that right?
Well, yes, it's so interesting. And it reminds me of a story in Kabbalah. The story is that the creator wants us to have everything. And originally when God or creator made the world, he gave us everything. He
Right.
just handed it to us. But what happened was that when he just handed it to us, we couldn't appreciate it. It didn't feel as good. It's almost like a story where, maybe if I handed you right now, if I handed you a new Mercedes, it wouldn't mean that as much to you. You'd be like, thanks, Tamar. But if you bought the Mercedes, it would mean much more different.
Right.
So part of it is being able in this quest of feeling like more is really just growing our capacity to learn that we can create, and that feeling of what it's like once we know that we can. It's almost like a lot of the stuff that we think we want falls away.
Yeah, it numbs.
And that's not to say we don't live great lives, because we do.
Right. But the definition of great, which is relative, just shifts.
Right.
It's not the average, and there are people who make millions or gazillions, and they have won the yacht, the plane, the 10 mansions, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it just, there's something that shifts where, when we used to work 9 to 5s, when you had your job, you could have given anything to go to spend 3 days on a beach in Florida,
Right.
right? And then when you can finally get to go whenever you want, you don't want to go. You're like, yeah, I'm good. But that I think is part of that freedom.
Right.
Of,
Right.
I can have it, but I don't want it. I can go get it, but I don't.
And that's a shift in the relationship with money, which is so many of the things that we talk about. So back to Women Growing Wealth, how we not only learn about investment strategies, ways to build our legacy, ways we want to be with our children, ways we want to mitigate taxes, and implementing those things. We are also cultivating, by being in that conversation, our relationship with money and our relationship with wealth, and feeling okay with wealth, being able to own wealth. And being able to, if we, however much abundance we create, being able to hold that abundance and being able to be content with that abundance, as opposed to feeling like more, and that rat race of just not really never ending and not feeling grounded. Yes.
Yeah. So the work you're doing is purpose, mission work. And I can say that from being on this side of the table, being the recipient. And if you told me 5 years ago that 5 years in the future, you'd be financially free, you'd be retired, you know so much more about investing, I'd have laughed in your face. But here it is, going back to not just making the money, it's dreaming big, choosing to take a risk and invest in getting the knowledge you seek. And somebody can pay you and give you what you need to help them. But if they're not willing to look in the mirror where their numbers are concerned, because a lot of people are scared of looking at their expenses, then it's not helpful. But being willing to do what it takes to secure your future and your life so we can live life on our terms, as we said, that has been priceless. So if anyone, all of my friends that I've talked to or that have mentioned to me anything about investing, I'm always like, hey, when you're ready, let me know. I know where you need to go, who you need to talk to, because she's got me here. Without her, I'd probably be still burning out, running my business, which I love, but it feels good to know I don't have to anymore. And that is all thanks to you.
Yeah, I love that. So good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a moment to receive,
Yes, please.
because as women, we don't do that enough.
Yes.
So we got to take it in and we got to feel it. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And what I want for all the listeners is, if you have not started on your path, to be able to get started. And that can look a number of ways, but I have a resource that is free for all the listeners, and you can get it at getyourenoughNumber.com. And what that is it's going to have a workbook, and it's going to have a calculator. And inside of there, you can learn how you can find your enough number. And what you're going to be playing with are the levers of how much you're paying in taxes, how much your investments are making you, and time. Of course, time is a huge one.
Big one. Yep.
Time's a big one, because time is really what makes us wealthy. Like I said, with that Apple stock, I'd be really have millions more right now. And then the last one is inflation. And that's one that we forget about a lot. And inflation can be pretty stressful, because it is one that we really don't have control over, other than pulling the levers to combat the inflation. In other words, saving on taxes and keeping more money in our pocket to combat the inflation, or to make more in our investments than 3% helps to combat inflation. Of course, here we target a lot higher than that for returns.
Absolutely.
And so get your enough number.
Absolutely. But that, like, without the enough number, you're pretty much throwing stuff on the wall hoping it sticks. You are clawing in the dark. You have no idea. And one of the other things I really love about this exercise, which I've done now with you twice, is it also forces you to factor in what you want as far as your fun stuff, right? Like if you like to travel, if you like taking your kids on vacation twice a year, if you like golfing, even though you might not be able to do it now, thinking and dreaming so you can include it in that number. That was the favorite part for me. It was knowing that, okay, yeah, budgeting and looking at my numbers is worrying about, oh, let me dream and let me bake it into this enough number. So when I think about retirement and what the number is, and I'll tell you, you'll be shocked at how much that number is not what you think. So if anybody is interested in learning how maybe you can start this journey, I would take up Tamar and her resource, and it's free. I can't believe you're giving it out.
It's all free.
Yes. So that's a good place to start.
Well, any last thoughts for you on this?
Last thoughts are anything is possible as long as you're open to receiving mentally first and seeking the guidance you seek from people who have the knowledge you need. For example, she has everything you need when it comes to growing wealth and investing. So all that's left is for you to say, hey, I am ready. I'm going to take the leap of faith and take the next step. That leap is usually very scary. I forgot to tell them that last year when you and I spoke in June or July, it took me 6 weeks to take that leap. Not because I did not believe in working with you, but because my mind was playing tricks on me. It was like, I don't know anything about this woman other than she's on Instagram. What if she takes my money and doesn't deliver? Like even I do that at this level. There's always fear and doubt, but guess what we have to tap into? We have to tap into the future. We have to tap into the future. So tap into your future and make a decision that your future self will look back and be like, oh my God, you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we want for everyone listening, every woman listening, and men if you're listening too.
Yeah.
If you listen to Women Growing Wealth and we're just so captivated by us.
That's so right.
So thank you everyone for listening and taking this in. This was such an important episode for both of us. We really wanted to share with you. And if you love this episode, which I'm sure you did, please subscribe on YouTube or leave a review if you're listening. And that way you won't miss any Women Growing Wealth podcasts. And also, please download getyourenoughnnumber.com so that you can get that workbook and the calculator. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks for having me.